Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. There's one quick video I want to make. I say quick, I always try to make it quick, and it usually ends up being super long, but this time I'm really going to make it really brief. For me, it's basically, well, Tuesday evening, even though it's technically Wednesday morning. So by the time I publish this video, which is going to be tomorrow morning for you, well, today morning, rank season has already started. Um, I might make one video throughout the season, basically giving you a bit better idea of how my experience with the season went, because I do expect that I'll be playing pretty much nothing but rank and kind of ranking out as fast as I can. Very much with pleasure, because it's finally not a tier 10. Thank you, Wargaming. Finally a tier 7. Honestly, anything that's not a tier 10. That we can play and enjoy, so I might be doing it on a couple of servers and stuff like that, so plenty of that on the stream. However, few things that I want to note. It's going to be 7 versus 7 in a tier 7, 18 ranks, up to 4 battleships and any number of DDs and cruisers, no carriers, thank God. Very limited amount of radars. I believe it's down to Indianapolis, Belfast, and Atlanta. Correct me if I'm wrong. The maps, we have Archipelago, Ring, Big Race, New Dawn, Trident, Neighbors, and Rippist. A lot of really small maps. Now, Neighbors is not exactly a small map, and Trident so-so. Most of the map is unusable. But we're going to New Dawn, we're going to Big Race, and we're going to Ring. Yeah. Couple of really small maps, so this is gonna be quite fun actually. I'm so glad we have like a lot of maps, to be honest. One thing that I've spotted really early is they lowered the amount of steel you can get. It used to be 5,500 per season, now it's down to 4.7. I don't exactly know why they did that, but okay, probably because they're implementing other ways and plenty of tournaments and stuff like that where you can actually earn it. But it is what it is. 18 ranks. The last irrevocable rank should be rank 12. Yes, there it is. So, yeah. Good luck to everybody. Let's move on to the picks. I'm gonna make it really brief, really short. I don't want to go like in too much detail and be like super duper informative and stuff like that like I do every season, because that ends up being an hour-long video. It's like 2 a.m. right now, and I really don't have the strength or the energy, but I do want to tell you what I expect to be good picks and what you could probably aim for if you have it. So, the picks, the ships that you can see right now with the green ribbon, the primary ships that I've chosen, I would kind of stick to this half of the ships if you can. As you can see, there's like, well, almost 2/3 of ships that I would not really go for. My pool of ships is probably going to be this. I'm going to be trying different things. However, I will quickly give you a reason why I went for some of these ships. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't or you shouldn't play any of these ships that I didn't really pick. If you're a good player, if you know what you're doing, if you're comfortable in your ship, you can make any ship work. However, some ships simply don't have enough strengths going for them, and they have quite a bit of disadvantages that you might just, want to avoid based simply on a pick. First, this doesn't like I'm going to talk about these ships in a way that they're all listed, not in a way that like this is my best pick. The first one is Shiratsuyu. Really simple reason, 5.8 concealment, one of the best concealments of the tier. 8 torpedoes that hurt pretty much, plus you have 5 guns. Pretty slow turret traverse and all that jazz, but you can still use them if you know how to. It's all gonna come down to you outspotting your enemies and dropping torpedoes, so that's a plus. No carrier, so you don't care about AA. Mayan. Mayan is a pretty questionable pick, I would say, because of its high concealment. It's really bad. 6.7. However, this thing is blistering with guns and torps. You have 5 guns, which are very fast firing. The range is pretty decent. You can simply put out a lot of supporting fire. You're not exactly going to be the best DD for scouting, cap contesting and all that stuff, But this is going to be 7 versus 7. There's probably going to be a couple of destroyers, and you can act as a relatively good support. You have more than enough torpedoes that have enough range and damage to wreak havoc, and it's really good that you can do from both sides. So even if you're rushing someone, they have very little chance of actually surviving, regardless of which class they are. Guns rotate fast, shoot fast, and all that jazz. So I think man is probably a strong pick. However, be careful how you approach the situation. Be careful how you actually play it. Next we have here listed Atlanta. Pretty much any single ship that has utilities such as radar, and there's only a couple of them, I think I've mentioned 3, is a good pick because it's a team player. You have very low HP pool. Your guns are pretty, well, destroyer kind of guns. Slow shell velocity and all that jazz. Do you go for IFHE? Do not go for IFHE and all that. But at the end of the day, you have, I believe you can go with a hydro and a radar. Yeah, so hard to get torped, and destroyers are going to be fearing you. Maybe not even you directly, even though you're blistering with guns, but because of the utility you provide. And that's, you basically radar them, and the entire team can see you and shoot you, and you're screwed. If you play careful, especially play islands and in coordination with other ships which might have smokescreen, I believe you can make good use of this ship. However, it's a cruiser. Bear this in mind. Any single cruiser this season is going to be cannon fodder for battleships. You have to be super duper careful if you're going to be playing cruisers. If you're not very experienced, probably stick to DDs or battleships. Even though DDs are going to be first on the menu, they are kind of the smallest and stuff, so with a cruiser, one mistake can be your last. Helena has bloody ridiculous amount of guns. I mean, that's simply the way it is. If anything, 1v1 tournament taught me that this thing is a king or a queen, whatever you prefer, of tier 7 cruisers. It simply it just murders everything else. So if you're looking for a good DPM and you're not afraid to go one-on-one against any DD in a straight-up fight or a cruiser, this is a good pick. Once again, it's a cruiser, so be careful. Indianapolis, really strong guns, really strong radar, but be careful. Once again, cruiser, you can get murdered very easy. The rate of fire is not really good. It's actually pretty meh. But you have really good range, you have really strong AP, and you got a really strong radar. This is a 10-kilometer radar, if the game would actually show me. There we go. It's not too long, but it's 10 kilometers. That's a Des Moines level of radar. So play it as a team, kind of a based player, and you can provide a lot of utility for your team from relatively safe distance. Flint, probably one of the stronger picks because hydro and a super long smoke, and on top of that it carries its own basically Mayen or Benson torpedoes on each side. Yeah, not something you're gonna be rushing and taking out easy or torping, and it can provide a lot of help and utility for its team. So yeah, if you are in a team that has like 2 or 3 cruisers, having one of them being Flint is probably very good. Sorry, California has a test ship. She was just listed as one of the primaries. Ignore it. Sinop, probably the best battleship pick you could go for. 406mm guns, 9 of them, and a really strong armor, and a relatively fast ship. There's just nothing like it, to be honest. The closest that comes to this in one shape or form is Nelson, because it's the same amount of guns of the same caliber, but Nelson is super duper soft. It can get pretty much overmatched through the nose by just about anything, especially close range. I've seen Gneisenau's one-shotted from full HP to 0. One thing Nelson has is a super heal, so if you know how to handle your ship, sure, you can go for Nelson as well. However, this thing, well, it doesn't get a super heal, it gets a regular heal, but goddamn, that armor is just insane. The guns are also pretty insane. Don't show broadside, and you should be fine. Next up, Z39. So far, this has been my top and favorite pick for any tier 7 rank season, sprint season, whatever. Simply because it's got fantastic torpedoes, it's got decent concealment. It's actually 6.1, not 6.8. I don't have a commander on it right now. It's got a hydro. It's got a 5-kilometer hydro with a smoke, and it's got a speed boost. So you can literally go for a cap, you can smoke up, you can hydro, and the other destroyers have to be afraid. They're gonna have a problem torping you. You shouldn't have that big of a problem torping them. 8.5 kilometers, 65 knots, 90-second reload. You can drop it down with skills. Torpedoes are pretty damn good. And that hydro smoke is one of the best things that you can have, and it's a really strong hydro as well. This is probably going to be one of my top picks. However, it has a pretty big problem with it, pretty big flaw. And that is, it only has 4 guns. They are slow turning and they are slow firing. So you do not want to really get into gun engagements against other DDs, especially if they get help, because you're not really going to out DPM anyone. But you can cause decent damage to this with these guns, and you have a really, really large HP pool. It's like 22,500 with a captain. So if you manage your HP properly, use your hydro smoke and torps, guns when you think you can, pretty damn good pick. However, don't get fooled into thinking that your utilities will win up straight up gunfights, because they won't if you don't use them. Next up, Gneisenau. Really fast battleship, really agile, really maneuverable, relatively fast firing guns, I guess, and good turret traverse. It's got torpedoes. This is a really, really good ship to just, if you need to push, here we go. Bear in mind that these are 380mm guns with very questionable accuracy, and you only have 6 of them, while on the other hand, Sinop has 9 of them, and they are 406. Sinop is a bit slower, has a lot more armor, and it's got no torps and a weak broadside. So yeah, Gneisenau is probably a decent pick if you know how to use it. I mean, I'm repeating myself right now. It's like it's the same for every ship if you know how to use it. But if you conserve your HP relatively good, and this doesn't mean staying 20 kilometers from the fight, this means be close, but don't lose too much HP before it's really time to push. Because if you saved enough HP and you go for the push, you don't need any torpedoes or anything like that, you're a pretty significant threat to any battleship. This is one of the rare battleships where I'm like, oh, you're coming towards me, I'm coming towards you? Okay, alright, fine. What do you do when we get close? You're gonna give me broadside, 380s. Just pray the RNG doesn't screw you over. Same goes for Sharni. Sharni actually gets 9 guns, however, these guns are pretty low caliber. Unless the enemy is broadsiding you, you don't even waste the time shooting AP. This is going to be an HE spammer that has the same potential as Gneisenau. If the target goes towards you, you go towards it. You're pretty fast, you're pretty maneuverable, and you shoot pretty fast, and you have the torpedoes. So if they're gonna give you side, you can switch to AP, and then you can maybe blap them, especially cruisers. The thing about Scharnhorst is it likes to troll. One game, you're gonna do like 200,000 damage, game 7 kills, you're gonna be like, God damn, this thing is awesome. And next game, you're gonna end up with barely 50k. It really depends. And it might not even depend on you. I mean, sure, every ship depends on you, but this is actually going to probably depend a lot on RNG. I wouldn't say it's a bad pick. That's probably better, but this definitely shines in given, you know, the proper situation. Jervis, concealment is not really good, but not horrible. It's got a lot of guns, it's got a lot of torps, it's got good smoke screens that you can use, it's got defensive hydro. Sure. I think this is a relatively decent all-around ship that if put to proper use, I don't see a reason why you couldn't do really well in this ship. I wouldn't really say that it's like, oh my god, it's awesome. You can, if you like, once again, if you use it properly, it can be pretty damn good. Fiji, damn. I mean, do I even need to say anything about the Fiji? amazing guns, torpedoes, heal, hydro, smoke. It's got everything. The only thing it doesn't have is armor and HE, but honestly, with these guns, you don't need it. Fiji is by far one of the best ships in the game, tier for tier, for its class. It is my first British cruiser that I ever got. I free XP'd all the way to Fiji the first time I was grinding it, and I was immediately amazed by it. Edinburgh was a bit of a letdown after Fiji. Neptune was awesome back in the day before the smoke nerf. Now, not so much, even though I don't consider Neptune to be bad. And then Mino is, well, Mino. It's a god. However, in a tier 7, Fiji is just amazing. Don't be an idiot. Don't give broadside. Don't get yourself exposed. Don't be like, I got a smoke, I'm going to cap instead of DDs and stuff like that, unless you really have to. And you should be fine. You got enough utilities. You got enough firepower. You got everything to keep yourself alive for a majority of the game. Just be careful. It's a really light target. Brings us to the next one, which is even crazier, and this is Belfast. You basically trade torpedoes, which can be a problem if you're getting rushed by a battleship. Fiji can do something about that. Belfast, not so much. Belfast doesn't have torpedoes. What Belfast does have is a really big problem for all the DDs and smoke cruisers, and that's a radar. You get a radar and a smoke and a hydro and AP and HE. Yeah. Belfast, if you have it, it's really a no-brainer. Like, this is a class out of its own. You go for Belfast and you can't make a mistake. I mean, of course you can make a mistake and die like an idiot. That's not the point. You're not going to make a mistake by picking this ship. Nelson, like I said, careful how you manage your armor, because battleships can murder you. Cruisers can farm you. And if you eat torpedoes from DDs, for example, you have a super heal that you're not going to be able to use. Its survivability is the most questionable thing about it. If you know how to make good use of your heals and not get citadeled and torped, you can live a long time and you can really do a lot of damage with these guns, HE or AP. But if you get citadeled or torpedoed, you're going to be pretty useless. And finally, Haida. The best concealment of the tier, so that immediately puts it up in a powerful position with a good amount of guns, where these are secondaries, I believe. So you got 6 guns, which is good enough. Bad thing about it is you only get 4 torpedoes, and these torpedoes are really meh. They are relatively fast reloading, but not really, especially considering it's only 4. They're decent speed and kind of meh range, but I would go for, like, yeah, this is fine if you had 8, but considering you only have 4, this is just, if you really have to YOLO someone or something, you make sure you hit those torpedoes, or if a DD goes for you and you have to defend yourself, sure, but most of the time you're not going to be doing much with these torpedoes. It's all about your spotting enemies and you're gunning them down and making sure you don't get torpedoed. 3.5 kilometer hydro is not much, but hey, it gives you an upper hand against enemy DDs that don't have it. Now, that's the picks that I will probably be cycling and playing with. Everything else is probably what I personally won't be playing with, for the reason that it doesn't have enough utilities. It doesn't have smokes, or hydros, or radars, or a combination of the few, really short torpedoes, or really too long torpedoes, or it's just a long-range shooting ships, which you don't really want. You want your team to be close and supportive. You don't need snipers, or they're too slow, or they're too big. So there's still good ships. Trust me, there's still good ships among the ships that I didn't choose. I don't know. You got York with good guns and good hydro, for example. King George has got a lot of guns. Bloody hell, I even like Abruzzi, for example. But like I said, I don't want to make this video too long. I wanted to keep it as short as possible, as informative, as quick as possible, and give you just this is what I'm going to be playing with and why. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below if you want to share something with me or the rest. Drop a like or a dislike if you didn't, whatever. Subscribe, I would appreciate it. And good luck to you all. I will see you on the high seas. Good luck with this season. And thank you for watching.